going to talk about this all even further. We're going to be joined right now by Zain Jaffer with the program, tech expert, tech investor, and no doubt you have a lot of thoughts on this. Just to start off, thanks for being with us, Zain. So your overall impressions, it's almost been 2 months since Elon Musk took over Twitter. And frankly, I'm so surprised that he has been really one of its most active users. He replies to people all the time. He's very, very active in this. Why do you think he wants Twitter users to know what happened in the old regime?
You know, the plan seems to be working, and I like how you mentioned Elon himself is the #1 user for Twitter. If you look at previous leadership, even different companies like Google, when they were rolling out Google+, they had to request and ask senior executives to please use the product. Here you've got Elon, even before he bought Twitter, tweeting constantly. He's the front face of Twitter. You see him hosting these Twitter space meetings where he's publicly talking to users and being transparent. And if you believe what Elon's saying, Twitter's doing great under his leadership. The metrics are now at all-time highs. He's shipping new features. He's rolling things out at a pace that you would expect from startups rather than these big, large public companies that are saddled with bureaucracy. I know there's a lot of turmoil going on inside the company. You've had advertisers who are boycotting the platform. My perspective, though, is that those advertisers will have to return. And Elon's going through his playbook right now, and he's cleaning up.
Okay, but you're an investor yourself, especially there in Silicon Valley. Musk made a huge investment, $44 billion worth, to take over the company. Let's kind of maybe portend the future a little bit. Is that going to be a good or bad investment? Do you think he's going to have a hard time, I guess, justifying this to him, to his investors and his creditors?
There's no denying Elon overpaid for Twitter. $44 billion when the fair value should have been $25 billion. If you also look at how the deal was structured, he has $13 billion of debt that Twitter now has to support. That's a $1 billion debt payment annually. Elon himself has said there's $4 million per day in losses. And he's been, I wouldn't say dramatic, he's been very strict at the point and said, Twitter will go bankrupt if nothing is done. So when you look at what's at stake here, Twitter is not a sustainable company. And this is sort of what we're seeing here with the bubble bursting. Twitter expanded far too quickly, much like other tech companies. They grew headcount 3x. What do all those people do? And that's what Elon Musk is now addressing by going through these layoffs and cutting and implementing his playbook.
Yeah. He's cut now more than half of Twitter's workforce. Do you think he did that too quickly? And do you ever foresee a time with Musk's leadership that he will appoint a CEO, that he will appoint some type of leadership structure? Because it seems like he's doing it all himself right now.
Absolutely. Look, firstly, Twitter's handling has at least been alleged through some lawsuits that were filed recently by employees as inhumane, clumsy, even illegal. People are going to be upset when there are layoffs, especially at this scale. But Twitter has to address the fact that it is not a profitable company. It's making steep losses. And Elon has to make some radical changes. And I would say this is what I call the Musk playbook. He did this with Tesla in 2008 when he took over. He laid off 20% of the employees in a bad economy. This is no different this time. This is what private equity funds actually do, and I'm an investor in several, where they come in and they restructure companies. They'll take companies private, or they'll look at bloated companies and fix them. And Twitter's playbook, or rather Elon Musk's playbook here, comes down to 3 things. You've got to be ruthless with money, you have to reset the culture to be scrappy, and you have to create a world-changing vision. And each of these 3 things, Elon Musk is doing a good job at.
Okay, you mentioned a downturn in the economy, possibly as a result of these major tech giants laying off many of their workforce, hiring freezing, so much so that we're seeing layoffs in Amazon, at Meta, the most they've ever had to do in their entire existence. What does this portend for Silicon Valley? Are these telltale signs that we're in a recessionary period, you think?
First, let's look at how the US economy is doing. The US has a very strong labor market. We're seeing a 3.7 unemployment rate. We've got 10 million open jobs, wage growth. You've got jobs being added in sectors like hospitality, leisure, especially bars and restaurants, healthcare. So the US labor market is strong. But what you're seeing here is a tale of two completely different economies, where tech is where the concentration of these layoffs are. As you said, we've had 140,000 job losses or layoffs in tech this year. I've invested in hundreds of tech stocks, 30 different startups, 10 different VC funds. I can tell you it is an absolute disaster right now. When you look at the overall economy and you look at tech, you get confused what's going on. And I'll tell you what's going on. Tech is only 3% of total employment in the US. That's why you're seeing these big headlines at this scale in tech, but the layoffs are only concentrated in the tech sector. And basically, the bubble has burst. And that's why these numbers aren't making an impact in the overall jobless claims and jobs reports we're seeing. And further, one more thing. When you look at the scale of what's happening in tech, I'd say there's two types of companies. There's companies that are providing value and they're sustainable. You mentioned Meta, Amazon, and Microsoft. Well, Meta laid off 11,000 employees, Amazon 10,000, Microsoft 1,000. But this is nowhere near the pre-pandemic levels that they were at. These are just slight cuts. And I think they just need to do that to appease the streets. Okay. On the other hand, you've got everyone else. And I put Twitter in that category too. You've got other companies that have just been part of this crazy cycle we've seen. And now those companies are not sustainable. They're not providing value, and drastic action needs to be taken.
Yeah. Do you think this will stifle innovation? I know this is a whole another can of worms, but you have the antitrust conversation kind of lurking in the background as well, with the Biden administration and the FTC, going after some of these major tech giants, who want to merge, who want to acquire other smaller ones. So that's lurking on the surface as well. Is this all playing a role in some of these layoffs, you think?
I think so, but I also think these layoffs are forcing companies to be more efficient. It's annoying, of course, to have to deal with regulators. Yeah. But when you look downstream at the startup level, I think this is an amazing time to build a company. And I'm seeing firsthand, many founders are inspired by leaders like Musk, who are taking drastic action. There's a big reset going on in the tech industry right now. And I think Twitter and Elon Musk is basically the mascot of how you need to deal with this excess, this waste that we've seen, where companies have just been hiring far too many people. Everyone's trying to emulate the big companies like Google and Facebook or Meta and Amazon. And most companies in tech do not have a strong business model. They need to get back to delivering value. Yeah.
Zain, just last point, when you're speaking of companies that, didn't hire a lot of people, I'm not entirely sure if you're well-versed in the crypto industry and the major news that's happening with FTX. I'm just going to assume, and we can talk about this, but FTX did not have a lot of employees before it filed for bankruptcy. Many had thought, how can it operate with such a little workforce? And so ever since the implosion of FTX, the downfall of Sam Bankman-Fried, many on Capitol Hill are going to throw up a Capitol Hill shot here, are calling for him to testify. He'll possibly get subpoenaed. We have just some tweets that we want to put up from the chairwoman of the House Financial Services Committee, Maxine Waters. She added SBF on Twitter today, saying, based on your role as CEO and your media interviews over the past few weeks, it's clear to us that the information you have thus far is sufficient for testimony. And so she goes on to say, as you know, the collapse of FTX has harmed over 1 million people. Your testimony would not only be meaningful to members of Congress, but it is also critical to the American people. It goes on to say, lastly, and we have the tweet, it is imperative that you attend our hearing on the 13th, and we're willing to schedule continued hearings if there is more information to be shared later. Okay, Zain, so SBF replied to Maxine Waters on Twitter today. He says this, Representative Waters and the House Committee on Financial Services, once I have finished learning and reviewing what happened, I would feel like it was my duty to appear before the committee and explain I'm not sure that will happen by the 13th, but when it does, I will testify. Zain, we've heard this refrain many, many times from SBF. He doesn't have all the data available to him about what could have happened leading to the downfall of his own company because he's no longer the CEO. There's a new CEO in place. He resigned. So he's used this, I guess you could call it an excuse maybe, many, many times, especially in these media interviews, about being held accountable. What are your overall thoughts about this? I know that was a long intro there.
Why isn't SBF in jail? Look at the level of complete, what I would say looks like fraud that's happened. At the minimum, very poor financial controls, and this isn't just limited to SBF. This is unfortunately a widespread problem in the crypto industry, and I can understand why regulators want to come in. But it's not SBF's duty. He's got no choice. He has to go. And I am surprised at the smoke and mirror games. When you look at some of SBF's interviews, he just doesn't answer the question, doesn't get to the point, and just continues to plausibly deny responsibility. People need to be held accountable. And what SBF has done is outraged many people in the tech industry, including myself. It's going to hold back the crypto space significantly. And this is like a Bernie Madoff scale scandal.
Okay, but Zain, what do you make, though, of the fact that he keeps speaking so publicly about it? Is he delusional, frankly, or is he trying to, at least put on this face-saving effort that, forces were acting against him out of his control?
I'm shocked, firstly, that his counsel haven't advised him to just stay quiet, essentially, because he's out there, he's giving all these press interviews, and he's incriminating himself, and everything he says will be used against him eventually. We've all seen what happened to Theranos recently, and the people behind Theranos have now facing very strict prison sentences. And I think this is where things are going to go. To me, he sounds delusional. Maybe he's just addicted to the media going on and constantly giving comments on everything. But it's an outrage, and it's annoying to lots of people that lost money. I'm fortunate that I didn't lose any money by investing in FTX, but I know so many people who have lost significant amounts of money. And I'm not talking wealthy tech investors. I'm talking everyday Americans who wanted to simply deposit money in FTX, deposit money, not necessarily even buy crypto yet, just deposit money, and their life savings have been wiped out.
Okay,
and that's not okay.
No, I know this is an open-ended question. I asked you about the future of Twitter. So many people are trying to, I guess, write the obituary of the crypto industry right now because of the collapse of FTX and some of these smaller exchanges. Do you think that's premature, or are you thinking maybe crypto is on pins and needles right now?
Crypto is on pins and needles, but what's the problem that exists with crypto is there haven't been many strong use cases. What problem does crypto solve? There are some very powerful, genuine use cases that are going to emerge. I'm seeing some, for example, in the real estate sector, where people are tokenizing shares of real estate, which essentially allow real estate to be traded like stocks will be traded. This is a new industry. It does need to be regulated, and it's definitely going to be regulated. I worry it's going to be over-regulated because of what's happened with Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX. But the crypto industry will reset. We've also got some huge capital going into crypto. We've got funds like Andreessen Horowitz who have raised billions of dollars, and you do have some of the world's smartest minds. I feel like crypto right now is probably where the early internet was in the early days and where mobile apps. So I made my fortune building a tech company. It was acquired for $70–80 million when apps were taking off. Back then, mobile apps, you had flashlight apps, you had farting apps. Right. And I built a company around that, and apps now have become something that are everywhere. This is what's going to happen to crypto in the end.
Okay. Zain Jaffer, we appreciate your time. I think it's your first time here on Live Now from Fox. We'll definitely be speaking again. Have a good weekend.
Thank you for having me on.